Fewer criminals going to be sent to prison to combat the more than 12,000 cell shortfall. This is National Audit Office report published today saying there'll be a massive shortage by the end of 2027. Demand is outstripping supply, and basically saying the last Tory government, they introduced, actually, and it's simple fact, they did do longer custodial sentences and ended some early release schemes for more serious offenders, sex offenders, terrorists and the like. I mean, like, really? No beep Sherlock is my response to that. But they didn't build corresponding number of cells to accommodate those extra people. And who will we have to spend? So we had this ridiculous situation over the last few months. We've had thousands of offenders released, back onto the streets, busy re-offending. I know, again, I'm as shocked as you are. And that's what's going to happen in the future. Ties in very well with the Justice Secretary Shabana Mahmood's plan, though, to actually put fewer people behind bars anyway. What do you make of that?
I mean, it does really sort of demonstrate the lack of what they call joined-up thinking under the Conservative government.
Or just thinking.
Let's put people in prison for longer. Where are we going to put them? We'll deal with that later. We've got to close some prisons to save money. It'll all figure itself out. I mean, honestly, this was always going to be a bit of a sticky wicket, if you like, for Labour. They made it one of the first things that they said when they came in. This country puts too many people in prison, and we're going to put in the lovely Mr Timpson, who's going to explain to us how it is that we're going to be able to reform these things by not putting people in prison. Oh, good Lord, there's a riot. I wonder how that happened.
Let's put people in prison.
Yes, basically that.
Apparently prison acts as a deterrent. It's weird, that, isn't it?
It is odd. And even to those who aren't deterred, it means that they're not on the street and unavailable, therefore, to commit crimes. But depending on who you ask in the Labour Party, every criminal is a victim, unless they're racist, in which case they should never be allowed out.
Unless they've written a tweet.
Yeah, basically. You know, everybody comes from a very difficult set of circumstances unless you say a hurty word, in which case you're never going to see the light of day again.
Because you're a Nazi.
Yeah, and we would deport you to Australia, but we're fundamentally against that now. Just basically, that's what it boils down to, moving people around. Deeply unnecessary.
Yesterday, deportations of foreign criminals. What a surprise. Was it 10,000 crimes committed by people who were foreign criminals, committed a serious enough crime to go to prison at a time when they're not sending a lot of people to prison, and then still not deported?
Most other countries actually release the data on the breakdown of prison populations via other nationalities. This one doesn't, because they're terrified that people might say nasty things again on Twitter.
We do know. Albanians, for instance, make up a huge proportion of the number of people.
We know that because
1 in 8 of our prisoners are born abroad.
Well, we know that about the Albanians because we can extrapolate that data literally from every other country in Europe that also does the same thing, and because actually everybody does point out these guys are particularly bad for various different reasons.
The people who come here, it's lots of organised crime, isn't it?
Yeah.
But let's come back to this idea. Look, we're going to solve all these problems by basically, short. But the argument is short prison sentences don't work. They don't deter. No one gets rehabilitated. I mean, no one gets rehabilitated anyway. They haven't got the resources for that. People going in and out, that doesn't work, and you're much better off having a community centres. Now, actually, one of the reasons why prison doesn't work is by the time someone normally gets sent to prison, they're already a committed offender. But we also know this. We also know that the community sentencing has got a very, very poor track record. Now, it might work on people who first offence, just like oh my God, what have I done? Moment of madness or something, and then back on the straight and narrow, and you haven't lost your job. You're able to go to work. You're tagged, but you can't go out in the evening. Your life is restricted, but your family isn't broken up. You don't lose you don't use your rental agreement, your home, your job. I can see the arguments for that, but it depends what the crime is, because actually most of the people who go to jail, they're often not violent offenders. Actually, an awful lot of them are violent offenders.
We just changed the definition.
They changed the definition, but also a lot of them are repeat offenders. We know that something like 10% of criminals commit 50% of crime. Yeah, I mean, the guy who stole my handbag. Sorry, the suspect. Well, I've got him on video. He stole my handbag on the 1st of June. When they went to find him, he wasn't in the property where they thought he lived. Yeah. Why? Because he was in prison for something else. He'd already been put in prison.
I mean, the other thing with community sentencing is it works in other countries where they have greater senses of community. And one of the issues in this country, of course, even not amongst the migrant communities, the migrant population of those who break the law, even in actual what used to be communities in the UK, there isn't really the same sense of community. We've absolutely taken a hammer to that. So there's no real sense of social shame or anything like that. Your parish priest doesn't know you, your doctor doesn't know you, you don't know the bobby on the beat. There aren't people to check in on you. There is no element of social shame, and that's for the people that were born here and live here. Forget the people who have come from Albania or Somalia or Jamaica, who have absolutely no care in the world for what the community might think, or if somebody from the community is going to oversee.
Whereas we would just be, I mean, it would be mortifying, and that's the thing I just find extraordinary. For a lot of people, again, like, remember the ASBOs and all of that, people People don't care. They're a badge of honour a lot of the time. The main point of prison is it punishes people. And crucially, it keeps people off the streets for the time they are.
It punishes.
It doesn't reduce offending. It sodding well does for the time they're behind bars. They're not able to stab people and steal from people.
This is the thing that really irritates me about the way that it's being sort of portrayed, is that lots of people on the left are saying, well, the Tories brought in all of these long sentences and crime has gone up and that shows that it doesn't work. No, it's because we don't have enough prison places. Actually, in terms of reoffending, everybody knows that longer sentences are more likely to rehabilitate you because you have longer access, if you like, to the sparse rehabilitation resources, but also you have fewer opportunities. It's really basic. And the way that they try to twist this...
Oh, yeah, completely.
And the Tories have let them, because they were the ones that closed the prison.
Again, also, the reoffending rates from community sentences just, are much lower. Like, that's because the people who go to prison have already committed 30 crimes.
And there's that one other thing, which is very clever people.
It's a tweet.
Very clever people always come out and say, but actually, crime is going down in the UK. And you go, no, it's not. It's not.
No, all the crime surveys, which have been very accurate with this, and these stats, they tell us that crime is basically going on a pretty much solid trajectory down.
Lie.
But it doesn't feel like that. So are we all wrong?
Because it's a lie. Because people aren't reporting the crimes anymore.
There's no point.
And because they've changed the definition of what counts. They don't include white-collar crime. And the thing with that is, of course, with the explosion of the internet, it is so much easier to commit fraud or things like that. So that no longer gets counted.
You don't go and rob a bank. No. Why would you risk robbing a bank?
You don't hold up the post office or anything like that. That just doesn't get recorded anymore. So there is this absolute wealth of white-collar, supposedly that's what it's called, white-collar crime. And everybody knows this. You get your dodgy numbers from India or whatever it is, and you think, what on earth is this? Or you get the dodgy emails and stuff like that. That has gone through the roof, and it's just not recorded.
But also, I mean, everyone I know, when Mike was talking about the other day, about when his mobile phone was stolen, the fact that the first person who drove past him as a police officer said, oh, yeah, mine was stolen too. When I was in he was in uniform when it was stolen.
Which on some level I kind of respect.
I talk to people, I had my bag stolen, broad daylight on a Saturday afternoon. And every time people go, oh, yeah, me too. I mean, everyone I know has had a bike stolen, a bag stolen, or a mobile phone stolen in the last couple of years. Yeah. Everyone I know, but apparently crime is going down. And yet I didn't know people who were routinely victims of crime. But again, don't worry, you get a nice little email from victims.
Honestly.